Okay. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy, Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. So, this is a slow news day, slow news weekend. I think 4th of July, people were just kind of chilling out. But we can always talk about the season because it's football. Let's start with the AFC East and trying to figure out where do the Dolphins rank. I think 9 out of 10 people will say Buffalo is number one in the division. They won the division X number of years in a row, best player in the division, reigning MVP. We got it. We don't have to do a whole deep dive into Buffalo. The question is the Jets and the Patriots both got better in the offseason, right? Last year, the Dolphins were second in the AFC East. We felt pretty good about that. The Patriots were not good. We know the Jets weren't good. But this time, the Jets are probably around the same to a little bit better. I think Justin Fields will probably work better in that offense than Aaron Rodgers did last year. Also, I just think he just has less drama around him, so I think they'll just be better. The Patriots, I thought, had a phenomenal draft. They got guys in all facets. They got O line, they got running backs, they got receivers, they really did a good job in the draft. And the question is, how good is Drake May going into this upcoming year? No one knows. We've heard about sophomore slumps. CJ Stroud kind of had one. Uh, we'll see if Jay and Daniels has his now. Caleb Williams, I think, got better toward the end of the last year. So I don't know how he fits into that equation. But we assume Drake May will be better than he was last year because the team is just better. They have better talent. He actually has a running back to give the ball to, and maybe a couple of receivers. So where does Miami stack in AFC East? I think, always barring health, knock on wood, barring health, the Dolphins should be clearly to me the second best team in the division, at least. And they should be competing with Buffalo. Clearly. Uh, we are only better on the offensive line, assuming again health. If Tua plays the number of games he should play, he's shown that he's going to win you 10, 11 games. And that's going to be second best in the division, if not fighting for the number one. I don't think Buffalo is going to be as good this year as they were last year. I don't know. I don't even understand Buffalo's team. Their defense to me was not great, and they didn't have receivers on offense, but they have such a great offensive line, and they just control the ball so much. Because even Josh's like throwing stats weren't crazy. He had a ton of rushing touchdowns, but most of those were like inside of 5 yards. So he kind of did the Cam Newton thing. But it wasn't like they scored a ton of points though. The James Cook was amazing last year. Um, Shakir is better than I think he probably gets rated at. But they like person by person don't make sense, but they're really good on the O line and they're pretty good on the D line. So like they're a really good trenches team that wasn't great at the skill position somehow, but that worked well for them last year. I think they lost more guys on defense. Salary cap has become an issue. James Cook, I assume, will get brought back at some point, but I don't think Buffalo was as good as their record was last year. I'll say that, and I don't think Miami is as bad as our record was last year. So Buffalo is probably going to win somewhere between 12 and 13 games. I said Miami should win between 10 and 11, which means that if Buffalo slips a little bit, they're right there, and if Miami overachieves, they're right there. We should be competing. It shouldn't be a situation where it's like Thanksgiving and Buffalo's won the division. I don't want to see Buffalo 7-2, Miami 3-4. All right, they got the division. Like those math, no, no, the number don't even matter. 7-2, 3-4. That math is not mathing, but it's like 3-6, 7-2. How about that? But that shouldn't be the situation this year. It should really very much come down to December and maybe even a little bit into January. I think if Dolphins are healthy, specifically Tua is healthy, we should be second place. I don't believe in the Jets as a playoff team. I think they're going to be where the Dolphins were last year. I think 8 to 9 wins. I think they'll be a tough out. We might split the season series. We'll see. The Patriots, I think, will be better than they were last year for sure. I'm going to give them an additional 3, maybe even 4 wins. So I think they won 3 or 4 last year. I'm thinking they could get up to that 7 win mark. I don't think they have enough institutional winning with this new crop. This is not Belichick and Brady, right? This is Vrabel and Drake May. So I think there's going to be some growing pains there. We have to see how good their talent is. But for Miami, we have better skill positions, I think, than basically anybody in the division. I know, Brees Hall is really good and Garrett Wilson are really good, but I think Miami is right there. I think Achan is right there with Brees, and I think Tyreek and Waddle are right there with Garrett Wilson, if not better. So I don't think there's a talent issue. I just really think a health thing. It's just can we stay healthy and be on the field? So I think Miami should for sure be the number 2 seed, fighting for number one. I don't like just conceding the division to Buffalo. Like, oh, Buffalo got it there. I don't love it because every year we have teams that should win the division, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you know, some upstart comes up and just takes it from you. Like Philadelphia was better than Washington basically all last year, but Washington could have won that division. Like it's you don't know just because a team starts the season better doesn't mean they're going to win the division. Things can happen. Minnesota could have stolen the division from Detroit in the last game of the season. They just didn't do it. I think that's where I want Miami to be. We should be in position to steal the division, and we'll might need some help from Buffalo, but that's where I think we're going to end up next year. How about that? So there was a recent list that came out talking about players that teams should kind of build around. And this is really like usually younger guys, usually people who are not getting paid a ton of money because if you're already getting paid a ton of money, it's hard to build around you. And for the Dolphins, Devon Achane was chosen as our cornerstone piece going forward. With the idea being, if there is a rebuild to happen, that he should be some guy, he should be a player that we build the rebuild around. He should not be on the chopping block, which makes sense to me. Like he's awesome. He's awesome, and honestly, we probably haven't even used him to his full potential yet. But the article goes in to say, his best year he had a little bit over 1,400 yards, and if he gets more involved in the passing game, 2,000 is not outside the realm of possibility. Hey, we said that on Dolphins Daily forever ago. I said it, and people jumped in my comments. You think 2,000 is possible? Yeah, I said he should be aiming for Marshall Fault stats. Like he should be aiming for the elusive 1,000 yard rushing and receiving year. That's where his head should be. So when I read it, I'm like, oh, I said that already. I wonder if they watched the show, but that's fine. So he makes the most sense. He's at the perfect age. He's not making money yet. It's also kind of interesting because running backs were devalued for a couple of years in the sense that they weren't getting the money that they were getting back in the day. Like before, if you had a Todd Gurley, Adrian Peterson level player, they just got the money. Zeke got the money. Then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we're not gonna pay running backs for like 3 or 4 years. And then last year, people decided to pay running backs again, and it worked out because there's some great running backs last year. So we're, I think, about to go into another running back boom. We've mentioned many times, Brees, Bijan, and Achan are all coming up for contracts, and Jameer Gibbs, all coming up for contracts at the same time. And James Cook is coming up for a contract kind of now. Like he's under contract for a year, but he wants to get his money now. So if you tell me those five backs are all on the market, there's some money's about to get spent. So I'm concerned about when that's going to take place. Like, I kind of feel like we should jump ahead of it as early as we can. Kind of piece out what the market's looking like. All right, 15 million is the market. That's what James Cook wants 15 million plus. I imagine Bijan and Brees are going to want even more, and Jameer is probably going to get paid the most. So where does Achan fall in that group? Is my big question. If we think the number is 15, can we get him in for 13 for like a 4 year extension? Like, 4 years, 52, like 3 years guaranteed. Can we lock that in? Because the later we wait, the more expensive it's going to get. And I'm not looking forward to that. So, yeah, I think Devon is clearly our best game breaker. I think he's super versatile. And I would love to see him really push to be borderline all pro. He should be a pro bowler, I think, already. But why not aim for the stars? You have all the skill in the world. We're going to feed you the ball. Our offense is based on, misdirection runs, which is based on speed. Like we fake pitches this way, give you ball this way. You have to basically beat linebackers to a spot. He's arguably the fastest running back in the league. Like, yes, like all of it is there for him. It's all there. We just got to harness it and, hopefully make it work. So we made the Darren Waller trade a few days ago, and I think a lot of people are like, "Well, we'll see how it happens. We'll see what happens." He hasn't played in a while. This is a risky play, but interesting nonetheless. The question is Miami still in the tight end market because we just signed Darren Waller? And I think we are, just kind of behind the scenes. There was some talk about Mayer in Vegas for a little bit, and then that kind of fell apart because they already have Brock Bowers, and but they're both still young, so maybe they're trying to do a two tight end set kind of thing. I think Cole Kmet is very much on the board. The Bears literally drafted his replacement in the first round, like top 15 pick tight end. When you have a tight end on roster, means that you're not going to be here very long. So I think Cole Kmet is for sure a possibility. He's on the market. I don't know what Cole's ceiling is because I felt like he had Justin Fields there for a number of years, and I feel like he never got used properly. And even last year, I didn't think Caleb fully maximized him. I think DJ Moore became a really big part of the offense. Even Roman Dunze didn't really do as much as we thought he would do. So I think could Cole be like a Pat Fryer move type of guy? Yeah, I think he's a little bit more like shifty, but that's like the comp I kind of see in my head. So if we can get a Cole Kmet type, or actually Cole Kmet at a decent price, I think that's something the Dolphins would definitely be in the market for. Here's where I'm looking. I'm looking squarely at Baltimore for their tight end situation. I think Isaiah Likely has the potential to be the number one tight end in football. That's how that's how much I believe in Isaiah. Now they have Mark Andrews there, consummate guy, part of the Lamar draft. Lamar loves him, even despite how last year ended. Still loves him. But Mark is getting paid good money. He's one of the $12 million tight end guys. Isaiah is about to come into money, and the question may happen at some point this year. Hey, has Isaiah passed Mark in the pecking order? And if he has, can we trade Mark and get something back for him, or do we let him play the year out and just kind of leave? I don't think they let Isaiah Likely get to free agency. If he plays how he played last year and maybe a little bit better, then he to me is instantly a top 8 tight end, if not top 5. I think he has a very unique skill set of athleticism, good hands. He's been relatively healthy, and I think he's just scratching the surface. He's got to me all the intangibles of all the other great tight ends. Like he's not as good a blocker as like Kittle is, but how he is in routes, like I see all the fluidity, I see the hands, I see the tackle breaking, I see a Pro Bowl tight end. So they have two Pro Bowl tight ends. You can't pay two Pro Bowl tight ends and extend Lamar, which they're going to do because the Josh has got extended, and that's how that goes. So I think one of them will become available probably during the year, though. As far as between now and the start of the season, I think Cole Komet makes the most sense for who they could possibly go after. I'm not here for the Dalton Schultz and Mike Gesicki reunion type people, but during the year, just keep your eyes open on Baltimore. Like if it starts looking like we have two A level tight ends, I don't think one's gonna make it through the rest of the year. Even though this is like a Super Bowl year for them, we'll see. But just the idea that we could get an asset back for a player that's still pretty good, I don't know. There may be something there. Maybe something there. All right. We're gonna jump to the questions because we love to hear from y'all. So let's do that right now. If Mika Fitzpatrick performs as our safeties did last year, would that be a victory for the Dolphins? Hmm. Victory, probably not. Um, because Javon Holland was not great last year. That wasn't his best year. His best year was a couple years ago. And I think he was living off his name a lot last year. He wasn't bad, but I mean, we thought, yo, this guy's a game breaker. He might be a cornerstone defensive piece. He was what Devon Achane is now. That's what he was 2 years ago. Yo, we got a diamond in the rough. We drafted this guy to be maybe our second or third safety, and he instantly became a starter. And then last year he wasn't at his best, which is why when he asked for a contract, we were like, nah, because we ain't got it. Minka is better than Holland, just flatly, right? But he also hasn't been good. He hasn't been as good as he has been the last couple of years. So there's some like we want him to come back to where he's been, and some of that is Pittsburgh is I don't know they've done some weird stuff on defense. They've they put all their resources in defense. I don't understand what Pittsburgh is doing, but they also like move guys around. They get blitz. No, they start playing like deep thirds and deep cover twos. I don't know what kind of defense Pittsburgh was running. They basically were playing a bend but don't break defense the last couple of years. So teams would just drive the ball for a long time on Pittsburgh and just I don't know. They're good, but they weren't dominant. If that makes sense at all. I don't. I think Minka will be better, but if we end up having a year where he has one pick, you know, 50, 60 tackles and, one or two pass defenses, I would think we feel like we kind of got the short end of that. I think we got him to be possibly Pro Bowl tight end Minka. We got him to be the leader in the secondary. We got him to be, you know, not probably not team captain because when he got traded, but like thought of in that space. Like he should get captain respect. I think that's what we drafted or traded for. And if we don't have that, we have a guy that's getting beat in coverage, that doesn't know the plays, that looks like he's a step slow. Yeah, I would say that is probably that's probably not the move that that's not that we wouldn't be happy about the move. So I think he will play better. I'm hoping that we get all Pro Bowl version of him. But yeah, our safety situation wasn't great last year. It was arguably one of the bottom five in the league. I don't see how we can repeat that just because there's been so much emphasis on it in the offseason. We're going to do either change the scheme or make sure we get the right people to be out there. One of those two is going to happen. What we're not going to do is do what we did last year again this year. I don't see it. I don't see how that's even possible. Like everybody will lose their jobs, and I think they like having jobs. So no. You've been talking a lot about tight ends lately. Who do you think the Dolphins should target in the offseason? Well, I still think Kyle Pitts is an option out there. You're asking me all tight ends available who they should go after. I like Isaiah Likely the most of all of them because I feel like he's the better player who has gotten better year over year and actually got okay at blocking last year. 2 years ago, terrible at blocking. Last year, decent at blocking. Kyle Pitts' ceiling is whatever you believe Kyle Pitts' ceiling was coming out of the draft. Top five pick, super tall, decent hands, good route runner, like whatever. But he hasn't lived up to that at all. And he definitely hasn't gotten better. Like, even if you're the biggest Kyle Pitts stan, he hasn't gotten better. If everybody's available, if Baltimore is like, hey, likely wants to reset the tight end market, we can't pay it, I think Miami should be looking into that because we may be in a rebuild kind of situation. So who knows how that's going to go. But if that's the case, then yeah, I will go there. If it's like a veteran type player, we don't want to spend any money on a position. I've always been a fan of Dallas Goddard, like his game. Because I've got him in fantasy a couple years, and he's a pretty dependable fantasy player. He's never like, Kittle had games last year. I had Kittle last year, championship. I had Kittle last year, and Kittle would have games where he would get me 25 fantasy points at tight end, which is just ridiculous. I'm not getting that from Dallas Goddard. I'm going to get somewhere between 8 and 15 pretty consistently, right? If he gets a touchdown, jumps up. If he doesn't, 4 to 5 catches, you know, 40 to 50 yards. Like, it's a pretty consistent guy, and he's still just a giant target. Not fast, but a little bit faster than you think, and has winning pedigree, right? He's been in Super Bowl a couple times, obviously won it. That's the kind of guy that if we're going to go into some version of a rebuild and money becomes kind of scarce, he's going to be on the other side of 30. Philly may want to go younger because that's how Philly builds their team. And if he's available, I'm fine getting him for a year or two, finding a replacement in the draft, and then rebuilding that way. So if we're trying to spend money on tight end, go Isaiah Likely. If we're not trying to spend money, I think Dallas Goddard would be like a pretty solid choice. Not here for, a Jake Ferguson or, just there's a lot of tight ends that start like Noah Fant. Not here for that. Like there's a lot of guys like, oh, he'll be good. Don't want him. Let's stay over there. If TJ Hawkinson is available, call me. Rest of those guys, stay where you are. Not here for it. But as always, guys, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and subscribes. We'll see y'all next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.